All right, guys, welcome back to math. This is day 2 of our decimal place value unit. So you are going to need several pages today. This is going to be a 2-day lesson. So you're going to have 2 class periods to work on this. So tomorrow you will also work on some of these pages, and you'll be doing some Dreambox as well tomorrow going over this. So go ahead and get these pages out: 97, 99, 101, 103, and 105. Go ahead and get those out for me. Go ahead and pause the video. Make sure you have all these pages out and you are ready. All right, so I want to start on page 98. And on page 98, you are going to see this is a place value chart. Okay. Now, hopefully, for most of you, and I'll cover up this part of it, that this part of the place value chart looks really familiar. Okay, my ones place, which we talked about yesterday, are flats, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, and millions. That's just my normal place value, right? So if I were to say that I had 4,297 pieces of candy, that would be exactly that. 4 in the thousands, 2 in the hundreds, so forth and so on. What we, though, are discovering in our unit is this side of the place value chart. That's my decimals. So we talked yesterday about how my spot directly next to my decimal on the right is called the tenths, or is rods. My hundredths is units. I'm going to underline this THS, because that's the part that's really important. It's not the hundreds, it's not the tens, it's the tenths, and it's the hundredths. And then last but not least, the thousandths, which are my tiny units, my teeny, tiny, barely can even see them on the grid. So go ahead and label yours like I've got mine. So you have the ones, and everything above it are flats. You got the tenths, which are rods, the hundredths, which are units, and the thousandths, which are tiny units. Go ahead and take a second and make sure you got yours labeled. So what we're going to do is we are going to do this. I want you to listen to me very carefully. We are going to look at page 99. And page 99 has several different examples here that you are going to break down with your teacher, and you are going to figure out what is going to go in each of my blanks. Okay? So when you look here, you are getting ready to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these with your teacher. I did the first one with you. I'm going to show you the expectation of what you need to do, and then you're going to do 5 with your teacher. So they might do a couple with you, then have you pick some, but you've got to look at these very carefully to figure out what is going to go in each of my blanks. So I'm not going to pick an easy one, okay? I'm going to pick one that's a little bit harder. All right, now this would be an easy one. This would be an easy one. There are several on here that are pretty easy, okay? I'm going to pick one that's a little bit harder to show you what is actually happening in this problem. So we're going to pick this one up here. So go ahead and cross this one out. And the first thing that we're going to do is, I think the easiest part about this would be to draw it in your place value. So you're going to do 3 different things. You're going to draw it, you are going to put it in the place value chart, and you're going to put it in word form. So for each example, you're doing 3 things. All right, let's take a look at this first one. All right, let's see if you guys agree with what I drew here for this first one. So my first one says, it says 1 flat. So there's my 1 flat. and it says 14 units, which are my boxes, my small boxes. So look at what I did here. I crossed out 14 boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Wait a minute. I crossed out 14, but do you notice that when I crossed out 10 of them, I crossed out a rod? Huh. So when I did 14, I crossed out a rod and then had 4 left over. So when I look at the actual writing part of this, so I've got 1 flat, 1 rod, and 4 units. So look at how I wrote this one. 1 flat, decimal, 1 rod, and 4 units. Notice how I didn't put the 14 in one box. I can't do that, guys. I can't put 2 numbers in a box. Think about this for a second. Imagine that you have 14 $1 bills. You wouldn't put 14 in this box. You would say, wait a minute, these 10 $1 bills make a 10. And I have 4 left over, so I've got 14. 14 written by 1, 4. Same thing here. If I've got more that can go in a box, I have to convert it. And remember, everything goes up and down by tens. So it's 10 times bigger each time I go up, or it's divided by 10 smaller each time I go down. So there's the first 2 parts of this problem. I went ahead and I did step 1 was right here by showing my picture. Step 2 was putting it in my place value chart. And step 3 is going to be writing this down. Now you're going to write this down on page 100. So on page 100, you're going to actually write how you would say this in word form. So let's see if you remember from yesterday. So how I rewrote it from my place value chart, I'm going to start with whatever is right here next to the decimal, which is 1. Really easy, 1. The next thing I always say is my decimal, which is and, 1 and. Well, the next number I see is 14. So there's my next number, 14. And my last thing I put is whatever place value this goes to. And if you look here, it goes to the hundredths place. That's where it stops. So you have 4 steps of saying this problem. Step 1, what's in front of the decimal? Step 2, say the decimal. Step 3, what number comes after the decimal? And step 4, what place value does it stop in? 1 and 14 hundredths. 1 and 14 hundredths. 4 steps to be successful to say it. All right, so what you're going to do now is I want you to go ahead. I want you to do an easier one to start with. So you and your teacher are going to work on this one right here. 2 rods, 6 units, and 3 flats. Make sure you put them in the right places. And then you're going to do all 3 steps. You're going to do it with your base 10. You're going to do place value, and you're going to tell me how to say it in word form. And then your teacher is going to give you instructions on the next thing you're going to do to get at least 5 more of these down on your paper. Okay? All right, go ahead. You can pause this video here, teachers, and then the next part of this video will be for Friday, the next thing you're going to do on Friday. So go ahead, you can pause it here. All right, so welcome. This is our 3rd lesson, but remember we We split this lesson into 2 days. So this is what we're going to be looking at for today and trying to figure this part out. I'm going to go over an example here with you, and then you're going to have 4 that your students can also go over and they can do on their own as well. So we're doing 2 different things. We have our scenario. You can cross out number 1. We're not going to do number 1 today. But you got 2 things you're going to do. You're going to do base 10 numerals, which means just basically write it in number form. And you're going to tell me in word form what this looks like. So let's take a look at my number here and see if we can figure this out. 4 flats, 8 rods, and 19 units. So if you've got your paper, you can go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and show this one. I'm going to go ahead and show you what this one looks like. So 4 flats. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Guys, you might not have the space to do this on every single one. So you might actually have to draw some flats and draw some rods and draw actually what this looks like as well. So what you could do to show this is you could just take some paper and you could say, okay, here's my 4 flats. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can draw it out too, okay? So if you need to draw it out on paper, go ahead and do that as well if you don't have space. All right, the next thing it said is it said 8 rods. Is that right? Yeah, 8 rods, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and cross out 8 rods. So go ahead and look here. Here's my 8 rods I'm crossing out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 all the way down. So I crossed out all of these. Or if you need to draw them, you can. So there's 8 rods I crossed out. And I'm crossing out 19 units. 19 units. So let me zoom in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Notice what happens again. I drew an extra rod because I had more than 10, so another rod was formed. So instead of there being 8, there's actually 9 rods. Let me put this in a different color so you can see a little bit better. That's a 9th rod. So I've got now, what do I have here? So I've got how many flats? 1, 2, 3, and 4. How many rods? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's actually 9. And then how many units are left over? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once again, 9. So when I go to my actual paper here, so let me go to my paper. Let me show you what's happening. So I drew my different spaces. I said I have 4 flats. So this is going to be my flats. 9 rods. And 9 units. Even though it only tells me 8 rods, I had to add 1 because I had too many units that spilled over. So how would I say this number? Remember, 4 steps. Step 1, what's in front of the decimal? 4, right? 4. What does the decimal equal? We always say the word and with the decimal, and. What's the number after the decimal? That's 99. And what place value does it go to? It goes to the 100th place value. It goes 2 places over. So looking here at this, if I were to rewrite this one 4, 9, and 9, it goes right here to the 100th place value. So now you're going to take a look at the rest of these other 4 examples. You might do 2 together, 2 on your own. You might do some breakout rooms and each do one and then talk about them. But look at each of these carefully and see if you can figure out what and where do the numbers go in the place value and how would you say them in word form. Good luck, guys. And if you finish this early, you're going to get on Dreambox and do some lessons for this week. I will see you next week.